I just mentioned that CSS is all about styles or rules, and these rules are going to contain different formatting options. Let's actually take a look at the proper CSS structure, or the proper CSS syntax as it's usually referred to as. So this is going to be dissecting a CSS rule. So what we see here is a typical CSS rule. As you can see, there's a P at the beginning, and then we have some curly brackets or squiggly brackets. And then there's font-family, :space, and then a typeface or a font, followed by a semicolon, and then a closing squiggly bracket. So let's dissect all of this. First off, the P at the very beginning, this is what's referred to as a selector. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds of selectors that we can work with. This particular selector, P, is what's referred to as an HTML selector. It's going to essentially take control or format all of my HTML paragraph elements. Okay, that's what that's doing. Next up, we have what's referred to as the declaration. So the declaration is all of the content that appears inside these squiggly brackets or the curly brackets. The declaration is made up of properties. So I have, for instance, a font family property, and the font family property has a value, in this case, a typeface, or it could be a font size or a color or some spacing or something like that. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, here's a look at a CSS rule that's a little bit more complicated. It's still saying that it wants to use the font face or the typeface Verdana, but it also has a font size on it and also a border as well. Now let's kind of break it down. So we have font-family, :space, Verdana, followed by the semicolon. The semicolon always ends a property. Then there's another property, font-size. That's a new instruction, a new property that's being declared. :space, 9px. That's our value. We could use 10 pixels or 12 pixels or even a different unit of measurement, maybe 15 PT for points, followed by a semicolon. And then there's our third property, a border. Now the border is using what's referred to as CSS shorthand, and we'll get into this in a little while. What it's saying here is border :space, and then it says 1px, 1 pixel, space, solid, space, $000, and then it ends with the semicolon. What's that all about? Well, the first value there, px, that's the width of the border. The second value, solid, is the border style. And the third value, $000, that's a hexadecimal color code specifying the color of the border. Okay, and of course, the entire thing is wrapped in the squiggly brackets. That's the anatomy of a CSS rule.